Hello there once again, fellow wrench heads. So today I am working on the Yamaha. So, first things first, what I'm doing is if you guys have followed recently posts that I've made about the bike, the biggest issue I have is the friction zone on the bike. It's practically non-existent. If you're not familiar with bikes, or for those venturing into bikes for the first time along with me, welcome. The friction zone is the point of where you start to let off the clutch, it starts grabbing and it starts to pull the bike. You should be able to get the bike up to 5 to 10-ish miles per hour before actually engaging any type of throttle action. My bike does not do that. What it does is initially I got to literally the last probably 2% of travel level right before the handle perch, and boom, the bike would cut out. Let me show you. So here is let me climb on to give you a better angle. So here is the clutch, right? So as we are pulling it all the way down, right? That's really, really far. You should be fully clutch disengaged. As you start to release, the bike should start rolling. I was not having that. I would get all the way up to here and the bike would still not do anything. That's practically closed, right? So right there, I would feel a very, very slight like nudge and then the bike would cut off. So, oh, that's horrible. That's better. So what I would have to find myself doing is giving more gas than what is needed to get the bike going. Well, the very first day, the rear wheel was sitting in a pile of gravel, because that's what we have up here in the Northeast, and the rear end kicked out on me and I dumped the bike. Luckily, my body took most of the absorption, so the bike is okay. It's got a little bit of a scuff on my, but it's okay. So what I've recently done is I replaced the clutch cable. So this is not a brand new, but is a newer clutch cable. And then I upgraded the clutch lever and perch to the one off of the classic models. So what they did is called the clever lever. And if you can see, it's got not one, but two perch mounts for the cable. And what that does is it takes additional slack out of the system so that you can feel the bike pull a little bit. So lucky me, that does happen. The clutch does engage a bit earlier, much earlier than what I had previously. But that's still not how the bike should perform. So what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be trying to remedy that with this spring kit. So these are upgraded springs, okay, from Barnett. And I believe they are a titanium alloy. I can't be 100% sure, but everything that I've looked at and seen has said that is a much better option than trying some hinky, shady little mods to work around. So it's a very simple process. The hardest part of it was the first two bolts that I had to take out, which I did off camera in case I wanted to, just end it all. So what I did was these first two bolts. So as you can tell, the stud came out with the bolt on this one. And on this one, the bolt came out and it scared the living daylights out of me because towards the end, it started screaming like a bat out of hell. So these are your two exhaust bolts. Let me get you some light. So these are the two exhaust bolts. There is a stud there, and there should be a stud somewhere over here, but like I showed you, it came out. So for this specific exhaust system, I've got one more bolt here holding this lower exhaust manifold in place. Once I take that off, that will give me access to your oil filter housing cover, oil filter housing, and then your crankcase cover. So very similar process to working on a car in the aspect of when we're taking off the crankcase cover, you want to get a piece of cardboard or paper, and you want to keep all of these in order because they are more than likely going to be different lengths, seeing as they are closer or farther away from the actual motor themselves. So let me go get a couple things set up and I'll be right back. All right, so your best friend working on a bike is going to be Allen keys and hex bits. So especially the ones with the rounded ball end, these are going to come in handy, especially since this one I have the right size but it can't fit because of the width of the adapter section. So ball end it is. I can't turn it by hand, so well, I wasn't able to turn it by hand. I cracked it loose already. I'm just demonstrating. So if I can find out where I put that bloody wrench. Ta-da! Close into the wrench, crack it loose. Trust me, it sounded a lot scarier when I did it before. So back this one out. So another good thing about working on a bike, if you drop bolts, there's not many places for it to go. All right. So as you can see, this is hanging freely. So now I gotta kind of wiggle off the front end to get it off from around that stud. Which is, so I'm thinking that should probably be as best I'm gonna get right now because I've got no wiggle room. I got no wiggle room or leeway to go. So, like I said, Allen keys is gonna be the way probably down here for me to be able to reach and get these bolts off. So I used I'm not really sure which way it goes. Doesn't really matter. Let's go. Yeah, we'll do it this way. Top, bottom. So top, bottom. But before we start doing this, now that I know all this stuff is off, can come off, I'm set over here. We have to drain the oil because the oil in the bike is shared with the clutch. So it's going to be a 17mm bolt at the bottom. I've got a drain pan that fits underneath this. Let's do it. So much like a car, some car oil pan drain bolts have a gasket on it. This has a seal washer. So you want to make sure you don't lose that. So as you take it off, you want to make sure, even if you drop, I mean, this is on there pretty good, but you know, you never know. Sometimes they may get stuck to the block or they just may be worn out and fall apart. But yeah, this one was pretty easy. This right here, here's your cap right on top. So the washer's in good shape. So it's not like a car. Once you get everything opened up, take it off so that it's airing to purge it. So while that's draining, I'm gonna start loosening up the bolts to the oil filter cap. And I'm gonna slide this over. Can honestly say, this is pleasantly not a huge mess for now. So when you open this, expect some fluid to come pouring out. Got the framer right here. I slid my oil pan over, so I should be good to go. All right, so bolts stay with the cover. And then, so then the next ones, so the inner cover, so there's gonna be 1, 2, 3 on the inside, 4, 5 on the outside. Let's see, the outside is probably, yeah. So we're probably dealing with H5s. No, no, no. Huh, that's odd. So it's not a 4, it's not a 5. Please don't tell me that you went standard. All right. Oh wait, hold on. Here's a 5. I had the wrong big one. Which one did I grab? I was grabbing the 6. Whoopsie. All right, so ready to go. I'm about to pull off the cover. See, hopefully everything comes off pretty decently. So, all right, so all right, so that came off pretty easily. Now I am going to clean this up because the gasket material is stuck to and flaking off of the engine block. So this is definitely the OEM gasket. So I'm gonna have to take some time, get this off, clean it up, and I'll bring you guys back. Best way to do this, some brake clean. I do have a plastic scraper tool, which I am going to be using. But before I get there, show you what we're going to be dealing with. So hopefully, all right, so I got the cover off. In order to give myself more clearance, I had to mark the brake cable linkage. So the rear pedal linkage, I have marked that to line up, and then I backed off a 10mm nut that just comes in from the bottom. Okay, so that gave me enough clearance to get the rest of the bolts off. Okay, so these, you're gonna have to use a flush mount drill bit adapter. These aren't torqued, like they're torqued to like 6 foot-pounds, but obviously it's been on there for quite some time. So you don't wanna go crazy. I do have the impact, and I'm just very gingerly taking them off the same way you would on a car. You wanna follow a pattern to have it come off easily. So now there are these do captive springs in the back. So you want to just So they do thread down. So now we're gonna see, so you see this spring, it's not terrible, but it's definitely, I probably shouldn't be able to squeeze that down on my own. So I'm gonna get one of the newer springs, try to slide in and see what it does. As it runs away from me. So here's one of the new springs. And it does slide right in. So, however, that's going to be a lot more resistance. So now there is a flat side on both sides. So you're not going to have to worry about what side is perching at all. So I'm going to get this, I'm going to get these backed off and put on and see where we stand. All right, so after about 45 minutes of scraping, a Chinese food run, and another 10 to 15 minutes of scraping, I do believe that I am done with removing the old gasket liner. Like I mentioned, that, my friends, looked like it was the OEM because it was basically just melted paper. So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to get the new gasket lined up and get placed on. And basically it's just the reverse of what we did, taking everything off before we put the fresh oil in. So I'm going to be doing this part off of camera because it's literally just the opposite of what we did before. And I will bring you back when it is time to test the bike. All right, so moment of truth. All right, pray for me because, like I said, my first time ever working on a motorcycle. The process overall was not that difficult, but I'm getting old, and you know I gotta walk around. My legs get tired, so but I was filling up the oil. There was no leaking from the crankcase gasket. Everything seemed like it bolted up all right. The exhaust front pipe is back on. I lubricated those studs with some anti-seize so they go in a little bit smoother because you know that's my favorite product. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna start it up, fire it up, and then we're gonna walk around real quick to see if there is any leaking. And if that's all good, then we're gonna put it in gear and see if we can get a smooth roll. Let's do it. Whew. All right, here we go. Nice little start up. Minus the fact that I forgot to pull the damn choke. So right now I don't see any oil dripping. Like I always do after a few days, I forget to pull the choke prior to starting. So that's why it cut off on me earlier. But right now I don't see any major leakage. This did concern me for a little bit, but I think that was just some residue that dripped off. There was a little bit of smoking, but I think that's from the brake clean that I was using that's kind of burning off. But other than that, I think it looks all right. Yeah, the only smoking is coming through from areas where I had some additional like sprays and residues, like penetration to help me get those bolts off. But now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna pull the bike back in neutral, and I'm gonna see if I can get it, if it gives me a pull. So, positive and negative. So it is giving a much better actual like pull. Like before, it was kind of like a slight like hesitation. Now I actually feel the bike pulling a little bit. But the one thing I did do while I was in there was I did take a look at the friction plate fabric, and those do look like they're kind of low. So I'm not gonna do that right now. But what I probably will do is I will order the friction plate material, and then the next time I get a chance, I will change that out. And that's basically just the same process that we went through, but instead of pulling out the springs and popping the new ones in, once you take those springs and those bolts off, that whole section comes out, and then you just put your plates back in. The first one being your pressure plate, and then fabric plate, fabric plate, fabric plate. They're all the same size. There's no difference with the exception of that one pressure plate, which goes in all the way on the back end of the pack, closest to the interior of the engine. So thank you very much for joining me on the journey with the V-Star. I'm very excited to get some more work done on it. I would like to get some 10-inch ape hangers, because these handlebars, even though they're okay, I feel like they're a little bit low for me. So I would like to get that done. And it needs a bath. It's gotta get cleaned up. And maybe some newer hand grips. But other than that, I'm really enjoying the bike, and I just want to thank you. So comment, like, subscribe, follow me on Instagram as I post some more things. I've been trying to post a few things on TikTok just for, you know, chits and giggles. But as always, Wrench Daily.